Alright, we're going to try to do a little scientific tests on if the TEAM MSC tune is going to make my bike run any better or idle any better. You saw it compared with Courtney's video, how bad my bike stutters and runs and just chops in general and surges and tries to kick you off of it while you're cruising around 3,500 to 5,500 RPM, and my buddy's bike, Grant, his does the exact same thing. So I'm gonna fire it up and just try to use my cruise control to hold the idle or hold the 3,500 RPM, 4,000 RPM, and let y'all see what the attack does. Then we'll install the tune and see if that helps any. Gotta let it warm up. Alright, got up to 180. I'm gonna try to set the cruise control, see if I can hold the RPMs. Not working very well. I'm trying to hold it by hand. That's how bad it jumps and surges around. It's holding it perfectly still. That had my hand on it, but that was also using the Omni Cruise tightened down as tight as I could get it. That's why when you're cruising on this thing at any of those speeds, it's just sitting there and physically trying to buck you off the bike, surging forward. Alright, so I'm going to shut it off and install the TEAM MSC tune and see what happens. Hope I didn't waste $700. Alright, we're going to start tuning it. This thing didn't come with any instructions, so I had to actually contact TEAM MSC. And so what you first have to do is you have to put it on your bike. You have to download the factory file, which is pretty normal. But then you have to plug this into the computer, email them the file, let them make the modifications to it, then send it back. Re-download it to this, which is where I'm at now. And now we're going to upload it back to the bike and see if that makes any changes. You want to make sure you've got some type of battery charger. I just have a trickle charger on there. I don't want too much amps flowing to it. Volts are at 12.5. Like I said, I've used a lot of vehicle tuners in my life, tuning diesel trucks and everything. This one's a little complicated still, but wasn't too hard to figure out. Make sure you got the battery charger plugged in. It is working. And here we go. I don't have any power mods on this bike as for the intake and the exhaust, but Courtney did when I went to go visit him. He had an extra set of clutch springs from his bike, so I am gonna install those when I get a chance. I put my crash bars on from Outback Motor Tech so I could lean the bike on its side and install those clutch springs without changing the oil. But when I was installing those, I've realized that they are not going to be compatible with the B&B radiator guard that I have installed. This is the heavy duty B&B radiator guard I had on there. But as you can see, the Outback Motor Tech crash bars bump right up against that one. So I'm going to have to make some heavy modifications to get this unit back on there. I've also got the B&B crash plate, B&B rear reservoir guard. Got some of the AliExpress engine covers, just trying to make a tank out of this bike so when I lay it over I really can't destroy anything. B&B chain guard. And for the most part, that's it. I'll probably do the crash bar or hand guards everyone else does. I contacted Outback Motor Tech trying to see if they would make a modified version of this for me to where I could use the B&B stuff still, and that was highly out of the question for them. So if anybody has a recommendation for a heavy duty radiator guard that'll work with this, let me know. Nope, looks like we're done. Key off. Okay. Okay. Back on. Okay. There we go. We're programming. Switch off the dashboard to continue off. Okay. Okay. On the dashboard. One thing I noticed during the TEAM MSC video, they said to make sure your kill switch is in the neutral position. Noticed a lot of the European tuners for these things have multiple updates for their map files that they've made, mainly because I guess the way they described it is in that Bosch ECU they keep discovering more and more tables. I guess they get updates and can get further in the tables and keep finding more changes to be made. I don't know if that's the case with TEAM MSC, if they're going to come out with updates for this thing to you know, fine-tune it more or not, or if they've kind of seemed like they've already hit the mark with it. I know you're not really going to gain much horsepower out of it, just cleaning up the fuel tables. Alright, switch off the dashboard to continue. Alright, routing the ECU completed. Alright, so that's it. Unplug it and see if she starts, or if I fried it. Now, the one other modification I do have done to this bike is I have deleted the evap system. I know that's not going to make a difference to how it runs, contrary to some other people's beliefs. But I ordered the kit to delete the secondary air injection system, but that is not present on USA bikes. That's only European stuff. Alright, so let's see if she starts. One thing I noted when I went to go check out Courtney's bike is how much cooler his bike ran, significantly cooler. Mine's always had a good bit of heat. I guess one test that I will conduct, not right now, but running against my buddy's Grant bike, we can do a exhaust temp at idle. Just see what they idle at and see if there's a noticeable difference. See if they actually do run cooler. And, 350 at the O2 sensor-ish. 250, kind of jumping all over the place, probably with all the dirt on there. I do plan on gutting the cats out of it, but I'm not sure if I want to go with the aftermarket exhaust. I'm not really worried about the half a horsepower you're going to get for the money, if that. And I'm a fan of factory air filters just due to availability. I doubt I'll change that at all. I just don't think it's worth chasing the total half a horsepower you're going to get and then losing that parts availability / reliability. Alright, it's warm. I guess we'll see if we can see if it'll idle a little better. it does seem a little smoother. I mean, it looks like it's bouncing around on the tack a little more, or a little bit still, but it definitely sounds a lot more. Sounds like it's not bouncing around near as bad. I mean, the only way to tell is to go for a ride, of course. I don't really have a way to hold my phone during the ride, but I could try to put it in this phone mount. And maybe I can use the phone mount and try to focus it on the tack and see if it's cleared up any. But it does sound like it's running a little smoother. Let me get it buttoned up, and I'll go take it around the block and see if we can hold that idle, or hold it at 3,500 without it kicking me off the bike. I'm assuming if that's still a problem, I can work with TEAM MSC and they can keep trying to focus on that area in the map and see if they can clean it up, or it might actually be a faulty throttle position sensor or something on the bike. That's been one of my main thoughts all along, seeing how some people's bikes are a lot smoother from the factory. And so the way I'll investigate that is I have some pretty advanced OBD2 software. I don't know if how deep I'll be able to get into this being a motorcycle. I don't have any OBD2 CFMOTO software, but I'm assuming I should be able to get in there and monitor the position of the, or at least the voltage of the throttle position sensor, and try to go through it and trend it on a chart and see if the chart has a whole bunch of inconsistencies at around that 3,500 mark, and that'll kind of indicate that the throttle position sensor is either faulty or just a cheap, shitty one. You know, try to narrow it down to more than just the mapping, but hopefully the mapping fixes it. All right, let me get this button back up and get it on the street. Just the takeoff alone is 10 times smoother. Like they want to stall out like normal. I also just put the brand new brake pads on their front and rear, so I have a little issue turning them in. Try to hold it steady for the video. Y'all can see that with a glare. steady and the bike is not surging. I'll give it a few more minutes to try it out. Definitely feels different. Definitely feels smoother. Plugging it down in 6th gear, and it's definitely smoother, not trying to buck me off the bike. I'd say that they definitely fixed that problem. The whole reason for me making this video is because this information wasn't out there. If you had a bike that ran as bad as mine and surged as bad as mine did, this tune definitely seems to help. I'd like to do a full day's ride on it, doing 100 miles or so, to finally sign off and tell y'all to go ahead and get it. But I'm definitely not trying to plug for TEAM MSC. I mean, I paid for all this myself. I did not want to spend all that money because I was concerned that it wasn't going to fix the problem. I didn't think that the factory tuning could be that bad compared to other people's bikes who didn't have that issue. I definitely say it is a lot smoother situation. My cruise control will probably work a lot better now. It was hard for cruise control when you try to lock it in. It would just throw you all over the place and be bouncing around. Trying to set cruise control at around 3,500. 3,500 was the worst. 4,500 was bad, kind of bad. 5,500 was kind of bad too, but 3,500 was where it was just significantly noticeable. I'll probably turn around and try to set it on 3,500. Courtney's bike had those clutch springs in it. That seemed to make a huge difference in the feel of the clutch, the way the whole bike rode. So looking forward to getting those in. I don't want to shatter down too much on these factory springs. I don't want to burn the clutch plates if I don't have to. definitely worth it. That was all stopping with just the rear brakes. Normally the thing wouldn't stop at all with rear brakes. Riding around with shorts and no helmet, not the best idea, but I wanted to test it out. The first real pull on it, and I can tell you right now that tune is a fucking night and day difference. That is a big difference on that tune. Like sounds different, and like I said, I'm riding in shorts right now, and I don't feel the heat radiating, and I don't have my skid plate or anything on, and I don't feel any heat coming off the exhaust. So I'm assuming it is running a little cooler, but it sounds different, definitely feels different. Yeah, I would, especially for the $300, if you can just send your ECU in, I would 100% recommend this if you can just send your ECU in. I like having the tuner. my mind about wanting to sell the bike.